my name's Tim Spector. I'm Professor of Genetic Epidemiology at King's College in London and also co-founder of the personalised nutrition company Zoe. And we're talking about future of personalised nutrition with a bit of a microbiome focus. I got ill about 10 years ago and certainly got really interested from a personal point of view about nutrition and realised that there were a lot of myths and fantasies about nutrition. Many of them talked to people like me in medical school that had carried on. And the main one was about counting calories. All calories are equal. We should avoid high-fat foods, starchy foods, never skip a meal, eat little often, exercise good for weight loss, and that one diet fits all. And this has been the standard advice for about the last 40 years. And of course, as we all know, we've all got much more obese in that time. And I think a lot of this is because we have used reductionist ideas to think about nutrition rather than thinking it in a modern way as an extremely complex science. And I think we're on a cusp where it is reasonable to challenge the dogmas of the past. And when with the team at Zoe, we asked 13 professors of nutrition, mainly in the US and a few in the UK, to rank foods, 105 foods, from 0 to 10 in terms of their health benefits. Yes, there were some agreements, things like sticky rice, cookies, Kentucky Fried Chicken is bad, and the good stuff being olive oils, berries, and now black coffee, which is a recent addition. But in this middle ground, no real consensus at all about artificial sweeteners, diet drinks, orange juice, dairy products, low-fat products, or even dried fruits. So still a way to go, but we have turned the corner that people can challenge the dogma and the religion. And I think what we need to start seeing is nutrition in the same way that microbiologists and geneticists are starting to see the microbiome, where we see food now as not just the 3 macronutrients, but actually as over 30,000 individual chemicals, mixing with the metabolome, with its tens of thousands of chemical reactions, and of course, the trillions of gut microbes and the thousands of species and tens of thousands of strains in all of us. And so realizing that you can deal with this at a chemical level, I think is going to really help us make a real advance in this field. Now, some of you I know are experts in the microbiome and others are new to it. So very briefly, the microbiome is this community of gut microbes, and we generally talk about the ones in the lower intestine, the colon, where the vast majority of them live. We tend to talk about bacteria because that's what we measure genetically, but we do know there are 5 times as many viruses there. There are plenty of fungi, there are protists, and there are these others called archaea, which we tend to group with the bacteria, but actually very different. And what we now know is that 99% of them are probably beneficial. Very few of them are actually bad for us. But the key thing is that there are hundreds of genes for every single human gene. And so our microbes can produce many more products than our body can. And this is why it's been termed a virtual organ. And I like to think it as a living pharmacy. And if you think of it in that terms, then this whole chemical analogy starts to come together. Zoe was the company we founded in 2017, really to try and get a handle on individual differences in nutrition and also the gut microbiome and try and put them together to give people practical advice. And it came about because we had the computing power to look at algorithms, AI. We had continuous glucose monitors. We had dry blood spots you could now measure fats on at home. We had iPhones and androids that you could log your food on every day and how you're feeling in a really dynamic manner. And of course, from the genetic revolution, we could actually look at all the genes in all the microbes in your body in a shotgun fashion, in a way that just 6 years ago would cost you $1,000, and it's now less than $100. So suddenly all these things came together to allow this sort of technologies to evolve, so we could start dealing with personalized advice and hopefully make some great scientific contributions. So this, in order to get the study going, I was very clear that I wanted to have a company that wasn't based on marketing, but it was based on science. So we had to do a study from scratch using 1,000 individuals, mostly twins, with a few individuals from Mass General, and gave all of them these identical meals and saw how they responded. And we've got these other studies, which are variants of it. And now people are now buying the commercial product, but entering into a research study so that we can still publish this data, use it on everybody, and improve our algorithms. They're all essentially the same idea. You're giving tens of thousands of people identical meals and seeing their outcomes. Now, most of you heard about the PREDICT study, but this, for those of you who haven't, we gave everyone these muffins in our lab setting at Mass General or in London, and took their bloods every half hour or so all day and measured everything we could. And the real takeaway message was that there was a tenfold difference in the metabolic responses to identical food in normal people, whether it was with the lipids or it was the glucose and insulin. This tenfold difference was the first aha moment. Said, well, if we get this difference in normal people, we must be able to do a better job in trying to predict how you're going to respond to food and get a more personalized nutrition advice. And the importance of these sugar spikes, as we were seeing it, is because they are related to inflammation, and we measured various markers, IL-6 and glyK, and it's akin to having these sugar spikes throughout the day or these fat peaks 6 hours after a meal that are just keeping your body at a low burning state in a more stressful state. And this is the basic concept of what we're trying to do, is to reduce these peaks, dampen the fire, dampen the inflammation. And the other insight we had, because I'm a geneticist and have been studying twins for 30 years, that's why we had all those twins in the study, was to say, well, if we added in the genetic component, can we improve our algorithms? And the answer is no. Actually, even identical twins had very different responses to food, the identical foods. So adding in a genetic test would have only slightly improved the glucose results and wouldn't have changed our fat response at all. So this is very unlike most of the other twin studies that we've done, but saved us a lot of time and money. The other thing we found when we collected these thousands of data is that for people who have wondered why at about 11 o'clock in the morning they feel a bit peckish and lacking energy, feel they need a chocolate bar or a pick-me-up, some sugar, there seems to be 1 in 4 people who have a sugar dip that does lead to this and increases appetite, increases tiredness, and actually increases overeating. So this is another element of individualization. From people eating identical foods, 1 in 4 people will have this marked sugar dip about 3 hours after. And again, this is another reason that we should really think about nutrition in a different way, and explains why a calorie is not the same in 2 people. It's going to have a different effect on appetite. Now, the microbiologists will know about the studies we've done in the PREDICT studies. Basically, this was a very large cross-sectional study of 1,098 individuals where we matched the foods they were eating with the microbial species and a whole series of health outcomes. And strangely, this was the first time on any scale the three had been put together. And this allowed us to match up so-called good bugs and bad bugs that were associated with specific foods, were present in the vast majority of people, unlike many of these bugs, but also had this powerful effect on the health outcomes. And so the idea was we could start to build up this picture of a ratio of good to bad bugs, and this would be a better indices of gut health, but also we could start to individualize the inputs in terms of the foods that were driving these bugs in either direction. And really ultimately trying to change people's health by tweaking these good and bad bugs rather than just giving everyone the same advice. And just because we've now got 30,000 people's results with their nutrition data, we're also able to look at new bugs as we are moving our data, again, the latest sequencing data through my colleagues in Trento and Boston using Metafan4, which gives a much more detailed breakdown of what exactly the species are. And we found there was this parasite called blastocystis in the UK population, about 24%, that was associated with good health. Interestingly, it's much lower in the US population, as you can see here, although all our ancestors, and either ancient ones or ones currently living around the world, have it. So it looks like we've managed to kill off something that's really useful for keeping us underweight, keeping our lipids in control, our visceral fat. It also has effects on our blood pressure. So we put all this together, these components, the microbiome score, the glucose response over 2 weeks with a glucose monitor, and these blood fat tests with dry blood spots, and other elements that we collected into an algorithm so that we could, with about 80% accuracy, how you would predict how you would respond to other foods. And this is the home kit that people get, basically doing a simplified version of what we did in these studies. And you end up with these scores for all these foods, that individual foods can be built up into scores for meals that reflect the three key components: your blood sugar response, your blood fat response, and your gut health response. So that we're getting more of a holistic view of food rather than the old-fashioned one of calories, fats, and sugar. Now, these are my results from about 3 years ago, and you can see they're pretty bad. So I had very bad blood sugar control. My blood fat control was about the same. And the only good thing was my microbiome score, which is the ratio of good bugs to bad bugs compared to other people in the population. And with these scores, I get my foods ranked so that I can see the banana for me doesn't do very well. I get about 20% score. So I'd be better off switching to pears or apples, which might give me a score of 30. That kind of simple swap and allow me to change my breakfast. Good news, maybe blastocystis is keeping me alive despite my other bad results. So this parasite likes me and keeps my fat levels down, which is good news. And these are some of the boosters we currently tell people about that are associated with these microbes, and we'll be doing longitudinal studies to show the real effects of these. And we are running currently an RCT to confirm this, and we should have the results of that early in the new year. Until then, we've just got the observational studies of people replying after 3 months, and generally we're getting somewhere between a 5 and a 9 pound weight loss, with particularly marked was people reporting more energy and less hunger. And as I said, we've now got 30,000 people doing this live. So in summary, we're all unique. I think we should ban calorie counting now as we move to this new era, really, of realizing that nutrition is complicated and we're all individuals. I think a lot of what we can improve is through looking after our gut microbes. The key to that is eating 30 plants a week, having high polyphenol foods, having regular fermented foods, and particularly avoiding ultra-processed foods, snacking, and artificial sweeteners, of which there was a paper in Cell just last week. And I think we all need to be citizen scientists, and the Zoe project should grow to 1 million people that are all sharing this data. And I think now is the time to embrace personalized nutrition as it gets better and better. And with that, I'll say thank you to all the team that helped me put this together and for the amazing invite to talk to you guys. And I'll take some questions.